Hey, it's Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We do this for you. We look at life through a biblical lens. We're looking at the things that have happened in the week during this past calendar week, in case you weren't paying attention. Looking at video number 2 in this subject. I broke it up this week. Used to do them all in one, but then it ended up to be 25, 30 minutes long. And I'm not sure everybody sits and likes to watch me for that length of time. I ran across an article this week. It's actually from, I think, Denmark, that just shocked me. Maybe it'll shock you too, but we're fast getting to the place where it's a little difficult to shock people anymore. When a elderly woman, this is in Denmark, when this elderly woman was admitted into a home for elderly people, she told the staff that she wished to die, but not now. I sympathize. Her condition was typical of Alzheimer's patients, the report said, sometimes fearful and angry and other times content and peaceful. Now, although she never verbally requested to die, her husband and doctor made the decision for her, and the doctor ordered a sleeping drug, something called Dormicum, concealed in her coffee, quote, which she was not told about because she would have objected, end of quote. The drug failed to put her to sleep. Instead, she was excited and started making plans to spend the afternoon with her family, going out to eat. The doctor then gave her an injection of another sedative. But according to the register, when the doctor went to inject this lethal drug, thiopental, the woman woke from her semi-slumber, got a fearful look in her eyes, and kicked the doctor. The report says that the family helped to hold her down while the doctor gave the drug, and that the doctor didn't think it was, quote, appropriate to halt termination of life since it had been considered for a long time, and he, the doctor, did not want her to get cold feet, end of quote. Can that happen here? The review board even noted that the doctor testified, quote, even if the patient had said, I don't want to die, the doctor would have continued the termination, end of quote. Jacob Konstam of the review board admitted to the register the actions were troubling. He says you can't expect an answer to the question, are you aware that there will be a little Dormicum in your coffee? So it is at least questionable whether it's fair to say that the sedative was administered secretly. Konstam compared the woman's reaction to flinching when getting a flu shot. He said the family and the doctor restrained her, but they only held her for a second. Assisted suicide is a slippery, slippery slope. Forget the fact that it denies divine order. The Bible says that God gives life. We don't have the right to take it, but we are eventually, gradually taking that responsibility. Here's an executive order you really, really need to know about. Following President Donald Trump's executive order instructing agencies to provide relief from this ominous health law called Obamacare, the Internal Revenue Service appears to be taking a more lax approach to the coverage requirement. The health law's individual mandate requires everyone to either maintain qualifying health coverage or pay a tax penalty known as a shared responsibility payment. The IRS was set to require filers to indicate whether they had maintained coverage in 2016 or paid the penalty by filling out line 61 on their Form 1040s. Alternately, they could claim exemption from the mandate by filing a Form 8965. Well, apparently that is no longer the case. I checked out a 1040 because I have Social Security, I have Medicare. I don't even look at the form that closely, but there is a line, I believe it's line 61, and it asks if you have had coverage in the previous year, and you need to check that. You don't check that, they'll send you a bill. If you do check that, apparently they'll want to know more, like where, what, how, and all the rest of it. Now, for most filers, that would be a mandatory process. The IRS would not accept 1040s unless the coverage box was checked, or the shared responsibility payment noted, or the exemption form included. Otherwise, they would be labeled silent returns and rejected. But now, according to this executive order, filling that line, filling out that line is now optional. The IRS altered its rules to allow the submission of 1040s with nothing on line 61. Now again, I went to the internet, it don't say that. The IRS still maintains the option to follow up with those who elect not to indicate their coverage status, although it's not clear what circumstances might trigger a follow-up. The report isn't to advise readers to avoid answering line 61, since the law mandates that Americans carry health insurance, and it could hypothetically be enforced. But the rule changes indicates that the decision to respond to the IRS question about the health insurance mandate is now voluntary. And you can say, well, I read this and I read that and I don't know about reading. I heard it from the Donald's lips. I saw him on TV. Maybe you did too. And he said, I have instructed the IRS to ignore that box and that line and not to do anything about it. The whole thing is in the business of being redone. And you've heard the stories, the news saying, well, this probably won't be till next year. Well, if you listen to the administration, they're planning it in the next 3 months. And if you read, as I did this week, or just this weekend, from one major player, not a politician, but a insurance guy, he said the Obamacare thing is a complete disaster, and it's coming unglued faster than they can keep track of it. Do you know what it is that sets Christianity apart from the non-Christian world? Well, in a word, it would be respect for human life. But it's even more than that. What sets Christianity apart, not just from the non-Christian world, but from all the other religions of the world? Religions like Jainism, Orthodox Judaism, Islam, you name one. Jainism has an even more uncompromising prohibition against harming living things. Think it's sexual immorality? No. There are religions, I've named some, that are very strong on sexual morality. Some place an even higher premium on sexual morality than Christianity does. If you don't believe me, ask yourself, when was the last time you saw a Christian woman in a burqa? Now, no other belief system on the planet features forgiveness. Yeah. God's forgiveness of us and our forgiveness of others. To what extent? Forgiving your brother 70 times 7, which is another way of saying every time. Now, I wrestle back and forth with this. Does that mean I have to forgive my enemies 70 times? It says my brother, meaning my sister. I don't know. But there's other passages in the Bible that says, love your enemies, bless them that persecute you. We don't have anything like that outside of Christianity. In fact, forgiveness is a hallmark of our faith. Without God's forgiveness, you're not getting to heaven. I don't care how good you are, because the Bible says that you are born in iniquity. You come into this world with a propensity toward sin. Little babies get angry with their mothers for no reason other than their own little selfish need. You say, yeah, but you know, they can't talk. Yeah, well, they don't have to hit you. It's a reality. And every other religion on the planet has no remedy. Interesting, isn't it?